Okay. If you could please state and spell both your first and last name for the record.
Andrew Smith, E-N-D-R-E-W-S-M-I-T-H.
Thank you. Go ahead, counsel.
Mr. Smith, you're a lawyer, correct?
Correct.
In fact, you practice in front of this judge and you're familiar with going to court.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm not.
Yes, ma'am.
And can you tell me what your position is now?
I work as Chief Operations Officer for a real estate company.
Okay. And what are your duties?
Manage the operations of the company of the portfolio of properties.
And how many employees are in the company?
Approximately 700.
All right. Do you know Jennifer Crumbley?
Yes.
Do you know James Crumbley?
No.
All right. Do you see Jennifer Crumbley in the courtroom here today?
Yes, I do.
Can you describe something she's wearing?
She's wearing black and white prison clothing and a mask.
The record reflect that she's properly identified.
Any objection? So noted.
When did Jennifer Crumbley begin working for the company?
I think she began working approximately 5 years ago.
And were you her direct supervisor?
I was most recently, but now when she was hired.
Okay, so for how long were you her supervisor? How many years?
Approximately a year and a half, I think, 2 years.
All right, and what were her responsibilities and title?
She was a marketing director, in charge of the marketing for the entire company in the portfolio of properties.
Okay, you got to keep your voice.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
She was a marketing director for the company.
Okay, and as marketing director, what does that entail? What kinds of mediums or services is she overseeing?
Responsible for marketing the property, the asset, responsible for social media, for reviews, ratings, online reviews, website, web-related materials, working with third-party vendors, working with the properties on their internal, external marketing portfolio, things of that nature.
Okay, the company has all social media?
Yes, we have a large social media platform. For
Instagram?
I believe so, yes, yes,
Facebook?
yes.
Twitter?
I don't think so.
Okay. So what were Jennifer Crumbley's hours, work hours?
Standard 40 hours a week. I think she came in at 8 o'clock or before, leave around 4 o'clock.
Was that the same every day?
I believe so for the most part, yes.
And in your company, do employees have to choose which hours they work and work the same every day, or is it flexible?
It's somewhat flexible. We encourage, we want a 40-hour week, work week, 8-hour days, and we give some flexibility on start time.
And do you allow employees to work from home?
We have when needed, yes.
Has Jennifer Crumbley ever worked from home?
I believe so at times, yes.
Would you describe your company as family friendly?
Yes, very much.
How so?
I think we're very family friendly. If there's ever a need or a time for a family issue, it's always been granted.
Okay. Taking you back to November 30th, do you remember that day?
I do.
And do you remember having any contact with Jennifer Crumbley?
I do.
Can you tell the court what was your first contact?
I received a text message from Ms. Crumbley that morning at about 10 a.m.
Was it a text or Facebook Messenger?
A text message on the phone.
Is that how you normally communicated with her?
In person, by email, or by phone?
Text or Facebook Messenger is what I mean.
Oh, text message.
Okay.
Yes, text.
About approximately what time was that? You know.
I believe 10 a.m.
And what were you doing at the time?
It's driving.
Okay. Your Honor, I think at this point I'd like to approach with the people's proposed 8, and I believe there's a stipulation to it. May I approach?
Yes.
And that's correct, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Smith, what are you looking at? What did I just hand you?
You handed me what appears to be a text thread from Ms. Crumbley.
And who?
And me, myself, correct.
Okay, so can you tell the court again exactly what time did you first hear from her?
10:05 a.m.
And you were where at the time?
I was driving my vehicle.
Okay, did you get a good look at the text?
I saw that she texted me while driving that she was going to her child's school to meet with counselor.
Okay, was that something that she's required to do if she leaves work?
You're supposed to let your supervisor know if you're going to do any more. Yes.
Okay. And did you respond?
No.
All right, may I publish the exhibit? Okay, so the the worksheet, which has also previously been exhibited, entered into evidence, she also attached the math worksheet, correct?
Correct, yes.
All right, and what exactly, can you read the text that she sent?
I have to go to my kid's school. Counselor just called, and this is what I'm dealing with. I'll be back by 11:30, 12 at the latest.
And then, what was the next communication you had with Jennifer Crumbley?
I believe I saw her at work around noon that day.
Did you take a good look at that worksheet?
Not that, I mean, I did, but not at that time.
Okay, so you said you saw her later at work. Do you know what time that was?
It was approximately 12 p.m.
Okay, and where did you see her?
I saw her in the copy room in her office.
And just to stop you, did you know anything about her son?
No, nothing more than maybe small talk.
Okay, did she ever talk about her son with you?
Not really, no. Maybe some small talk here and there, but not much at all, no.
Did she talk about anything that she did outside of work?
Very little. She talked about her horses, and she owned horses, and she really enjoyed horses. Maybe vacation here or there, a little travel, but not a lot, no.
Okay. So the next time you saw Jennifer, I'm sorry, you said it was around what?
About 12 p.m. on that day.
Okay, and what was did you have a conversation with her?
Yes.
And what was the conversation about?
I recall asking her how things were, how she was doing, and she had said that her son needed to get some counseling. And I think she mentioned his dog, family pet had passed away, and a grandparent had passed away recently, and she felt like she was failing him.
I'm sorry, she said what?
I think she said she felt as if she was failing him or a failure.
All right. When she said she had to get counseling, did she say why?
She said, she didn't say why, she just mentioned that a family pet had passed away, a grandparent had passed away, but she didn't say why.
Did she tell you what the situation was at school?
No, just that she was told she needed to get some counseling for her son.
Okay, and her son was not with her, correct?
No, not what I was talking to her.
Okay. By the way, you do allow kids to come to your workplace, right?
This happened, yeah, quite a bit actually.
Can you tell the court what was on Jennifer Crumbley's schedule that day?
I know we had a meeting scheduled to visit the property that afternoon.
And did you talk to her about going to the meeting?
Yes.
When did you speak with her?
We may have talked before the 30th, but we talked that day, that afternoon.
Where did you have that conversation?
Shortly after we talked in the copy room, so maybe 20 minutes, half hour later, her and another colleague and I had a brief conversation about the property visit that afternoon and about some phone calls we scheduled the next day.
And was she required to go to that meeting?
She was invited, not required.
Did you tell her she had to go?
No.
Did you tell her she didn't have to go?
At that meeting, I mentioned to her, it was her choice, she did not need to come. I did say that, yes.
Okay. And if she had not returned to work that afternoon, what would have happened to Jennifer Crumbley at her workplace?
I'm confused. If
Should she have been disciplined if she didn't come back to work that afternoon?
After what point?
After she went to the school clean search?
I don't know, not at all.
Okay, what is the protocol if somebody has to leave for an issue with their child or something else?
Well, we have a PTO policy, but when it comes
What does
to
PTO stand for?
paid time off,
Okay,
which you would submit your time on an online portal. But if you had a family issue, you would always be granted time for a family, whatever it may be.
okay. And did she ever request to leave that day after she went to the school and came back?
She never requested, but she did leave that day, yes.
Okay, we're gonna get to that in a minute.
Okay.
What was the next time that you spoke to Jennifer after you had the meeting about the schedule?
The next time I spoke to her was briefly when I heard her screaming down the hallway.
How far away is your office from hers?
10 feet?
Okay, and what, you said you heard screaming?
Yeah, I heard some loud yelling, screaming.
What did you do?
I heard it, I think I was on a call or a Zoom, and I walked out of my office to see what was going on, And I saw her, Mrs. Crumbley say that there was an active shooter at a child's school, and she had to go.
And did she leave?
She did.
And I assume you didn't have a problem with that.
I said, go.
Okay. Well, did you hear from her again that day?
Yes.
Can you tell how did you hear? Did we text or call?
I received both. She texted and she made 2 phone calls.
Do you know what time those occurred?
I received text message about 20, 30 minutes after she left.
Okay, we have the exhibit published. And can you read that text that came in 1:23 p.m.?
Correct.
Okay. Do you know, if you know, how long it was from the time she left to the time she sent that text?
I think 20, 30 minutes.
Okay, can you read the text?
The gun is gone and so are the bullets.
Okay. What? When she texted, the gun is gone and so are the bullets. Did you know anything about a gun at this point?
Not at all, no.
And what did you think when you received that?
I didn't know what she was saying. I was concerned.
Okay, and what happened after that?
I texted her back. I said, I'm praying everything is okay. I didn't know what to say at the time.
Did you know that there was a gun or bullets in the home at all?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Not what?
Not that I was aware of, no.
Okay, so had you had a previous conversation with Jennifer Crumbley about guns?
None that I recall, no.
Okay, and do you follow her on social media?
Yes, at the time I did.
Okay, and do you regularly look at her posts?
I don't regularly, but I see her post. I would see her post time to time, yes.
And did you ever remember seeing a post about a gun?
I remember seeing a post about shooting range.
Before the 30th?
I don't recall before or after. I don't know.
Okay, and what did she respond? What did the first phone call?
It was about 1:30, 1:25, 1:30.
So was it before the next text?
Yes, I believe it was, yes, yes.
Okay, what was the phone call? It was to your phone?
She called my cell phone, sorry.
And then what did you do?
I walked down to our HR director's office.
And what is her name?
Kathy Powell.
Okay.
When I received this text, I believe in a hearing on a Zoom meeting, and I stepped away because I was concerned by what I had just received and learned. Walked down to our HR director's office. In her office, I received a phone call.
And did you have the phone on speaker, or did you just keep the call in her?
I took the call and put it on speaker.
Okay, and what did Jennifer say?
I recall her saying she was trying to get to her child's school. She sounded frantic. You could hear an ambulance or sirens in the background, and that the gun was missing, or the gun was missing.
When she said, how did she describe the gun?
Don't recall exactly, just that there was a gun missing, that their gun was missing.
Okay, and what did you say, if anything?
Kathy and I both told her you need to call the police.
And what did she say?
She said that my husband is at home and already called the police.
Okay, and then did the call end right then, or was there more conversation?
I don't recall more. I think it ended shortly after. We might have said, please let us know if you need anything, but I don't recall exactly anything more.
Okay, and after that, then you received the next text?
Yes, I believe so.
And what does it say?
OMG, Andy, he's going to kill himself. He must be the shooter.
And then the next text?
I need a lawyer at substation with police.
And then what else?
Ethan did it.
Okay, what was your response at this point?
Complete shock.
And what did you do?
I let the HR director know at the time. We didn't really know what to do. We were looking for the story online to see if everyone was okay. We didn't know what was going on. We were really concerned, greatly concerned and shocked at what we were learning.
Did she make another phone call to you?
Yes.
Do you know when that occurred?
That was about 2:15, I think.
Okay, so there was what was the 2:15 call about? And who was present?
I was in our HR director's office. I put it on speaker, and she had said she had saw her son at the police station. I recall her saying that, and I recall her saying that she asked if I could recommend a lawyer.
And what did you say?
At the time, I couldn't think of anything. I couldn't think of a lawyer. I told her I'd ask our corporate counsel, but I couldn't think of one. Sorry.
And why couldn't you think of a lawyer? I assume you know a lot of lawyers.
I do, I was completely shocked and overwhelmed what we learned. I couldn't think of anyone that would in a million years be able to suggest this and that.
Okay,
I didn't even know where to start.
okay, and then the next time you hear from Jennifer Crumbley is when?
I received a text at 3:39 PM that day.
Okay, and what does the text say?
I need my job. Please don't judge me for what my son did.
And what did you think about that?
I was surprised by that text.
Why is that?
I was surprised she was worried about her job at the time. I thought she'd be more worried about what was going on.
And at that point, was the news public?
Yes, we had learned there was a shooting. We were still finding out more, but we had learned that there was an active shooting at the school. Yes.
One moment.
Just for clarification, I know that this exhibit was stipulated to, I just want the record to be clear that it's been admitted pursuant to stipulation.
Thank you, Karen.
Mr. Crumbley.
Mr. Smith, at some point that meeting you spoke of that Mrs. Crumbley, would you consider it optional that she spoke at that meeting?
Yeah, she was invited. She did not have to attend.
Did it actually take place?
No.
Why didn't it take place?
With what happened that day was the last thing we were worried about was going to visit problem.
Okay.
You cross on behalf of Jennifer Crumbley.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Shannon Smith. I'm a lawyer representing Jennifer Crumbley. If I ask any confusing questions, please let me know, okay? You testified that the company is family friendly, correct?
Correct.
If people need time off to do things for their children, your company's flexible and allows that to happen.
Yes.
And in terms of with Jennifer Crumbley, you were aware Ethan was her son.
Yes.
And while you didn't discuss Ethan very often, she didn't make it any secret she had Ethan as her son, correct?
No, I knew she had a son named Ethan, yes.
Okay, and did you see that she had photographs of him playing soccer up in her office?
It sounds familiar, yes.
And most of what you and Jennifer talk about in the grand scheme of things is work-related issues, correct?
Yes.
Would you describe Jennifer as being somebody who's very conscientious about her work?
Yes.
And would you agree with me that she's a definite go-getter, wanting to get promotions, wanting to make more money, wanting to get further ahead?
She was definitely professional and very good. She was good at her job and handled herself very well, yes.
The position that she was in on November 30th, that position, I think you said, was Director of Marketing, is that correct?
Correct.
And the director role was actually a newer role for Jennifer. Is that correct?
Yes, I believe she had been in that position about a year and a half.
Okay, so prior to her being in that position, she was in a lower position and she had worked up to being the director.
Yes.
And it's fair to say Jennifer appears to be a hard worker.
I believe so, yes.
And, okay, so you've been in touch with her and working with her the entire time she's been employed at the company, correct?
She didn't report to me until she became the Director of Marketing, but we would have had interaction before that time, yes.
Okay, thank you. When you were talking to Jennifer and she mentioned she had to go over to the school counselor, you testified that she said something about, I feel like a failure. Is that correct?
Yes.
What did you take that to mean?
I didn't know. I didn't know. I think she just felt sad about the situation.
Did she seem nervous or upset, anything like that?
She seems somewhat down.
Okay. So she left work and she went over to the school. And I believe the text, or you understood, did she tell you she was going to the school, or was it just the text that said I have to go to my kid's school?
I just received the text.
And was it frequent that you would get texts from her that she had to go to the school to see the counselor?
I don't recall any other text regarding a counselor.
Was there ever, were there other times where Jennifer had to go over and meet with people at the school as far as you know?
I don't know.
It's fair to say that Jennifer having to go over to the school, that wasn't something that consistently disrupted work.
Not that I recall, no.
So you testified she went over to the school, and then did you say there was a phone call after she left the school? Or what was the next phone call?
I received a phone call from her that afternoon.
Okay, and that afternoon, the phone call, you described her as being frantic.
Yes.
Okay, tell me what you mean by that.
She seemed very alarmed and concerned.
Did she seem upset?
She seemed very alarmed and concerned. I guess you could say upset, yes, but it was more that she was in a frantic, concerned tone.
And was that when it was your understanding she was trying to get to the child's school?
Yes.
And it was in that phone call where she told you that there was a gun and that James had already called the police about the gun, is that correct?
Correct.
At that point in time, did you and Jennifer discuss any other issues?
Not that I recall.
Okay, was it a conversation that was frantic in terms of fast-paced, or was it slower paced? Do you recall how that call was?
I just recall she was frantic, you could tell very alarmed.
Okay, and obviously that concerned you.
Absolutely.
When you received the text that said, "Oh my God, Andy, he's going to kill himself. He must be the shooter." What did you take that text to mean?
I don't know how to answer. I was very alarmed by the text, obviously.
Ethan, being suicidal, was that something that you had ever discussed with Jennifer Crumbley?
No.
Ethan, being a shooter of any person or being thought to be homicidal, was that something you had ever discussed with Jennifer?
No.
Had you ever had thoughts in your mind that, based on what Jennifer said in front of you, that Ethan would be a school shooter?
No.
As far as you are aware, Jennifer is the breadwinner in the home. Is that a fair statement?
I don't know.
So you don't discuss the details of James' employment or what James does with him?
I've never discussed anything with James before, no.
Okay, and as far as you know, Jennifer's never given you details about his employment or anything like that?
I believe she may have mentioned he got laid off or was in between jobs at one point. Yeah, I remember that, yes.
Okay. As far as John not talking to you about Ethan frequently, that wasn't something that rubbed you as strange, correct?
No.
There was no time where you ever went to Jennifer and said, I'm really concerned about your son or the way you handle or don't handle your son. Is that correct?
That's a correct statement.
Like, your relationship with Jennifer just isn't one where that kind of conversation would be normal.
That's a fair statement, yes.
You testified that you were in complete shock. Is that correct?
I believe so, yes.
Did you, when in talking to Jennifer on the phone calls and through the text messages, did you have an opinion about whether she seemed like she was in shock?
Are you asking when she was on the phone?
Yeah, or through the text messages.
Well, I can't speak to how she felt in the text, but on the phone, she definitely sounded frantic and as if she was in panic mode.
And when the prosecution asked you about the text where Jennifer said, "I need my job, please don't judge me for what my son did," you recall that text, correct?
I do, yes.
And you testified that you thought it was strange she'd be worried about that with everything going on, is that correct?
Yes.
it's fair to say that you don't know what she was worried about in that moment, except for, in part, her job, correct?
What, she had called us prior to that, letting us know that she was at the police station and saw her son. I figured she was worried about her child.
Okay, so we can agree that while she was worried about her job, she could have been worried about many other topics at the same time.
Sure, yes.
Okay, and in your conversations with her, you did understand her to be worried about other things such as Ethan being at the police station, lawyers, things along those lines.
I was worried she was worried about her son, yes.
Your Honor, I have nothing further for Ms. Crumbley this time.
Any questions of, any, cross for James Crumbley?
None, Your Honor.
Any redirect?
Briefly, Mr. Smith, at some point, did you get a chance to go back and look at that math worksheet?
At some point, yes, I did.
When did you do that?
Later that afternoon.
And what did you look at it in detail?
Yes, I looked at it after we learned of what had happened.
And what was your thought about it?
It's trouble. It's concerning.
Why that?
It's a concerning message. It looks like it's someone trying for help.
Okay.
Your Honor, may I ask one follow-up? When you say that it looks like someone asking for help, that could be a concern of suicide, is that correct?
I'm not sure I can answer that quickly, but sure, yes, yes.
When someone writes, help me and my life is useless.
That was concerning, yes.
Thank you. Briefly, Your Honor, did you see the picture of the gun?
Yes.
Did you know that it was identical to the gun that they bought their son?
No.
Okay.
You can step down.
Prosecution calls,
Any,
sorry.
the witness be excused?
Yes.
Any objection? Okay.
No objection, and no,
Yeah, sorry.
Your Honor.
I'm gonna take about a 5-minute break.
Thank you, Your Honor.
To the next witness.
Thank you.